not true. And I have coworkers, and they're very woke, and we talk about a lot of things. And one of the things she said to me, my white coworker, and she said that white people, she said, as a white person, I don't have culture. She said there are traditions that's within the African American culture that you guys do. She said as far as jumping the broom when you get married. She was like family reunions. She's like getting together. She was like, you know your family. She's like, she said, we don't have a culture. She said, so what we do is we try to take from everywhere and make a culture. She said that doesn't exist. She's like, y'all aren't lost. We are lost.
Absolutely.
And like when I hear her, and she's a young girl, she's a young woman. I'm not gonna say she's a girl, she's a young woman. But when she said that, she's like, so, you know, she's like, you have your hair products. She said you have the way you dress, your music, your style, she's like your flavor, who you are. She's like,
yeah, flavor in our food.
We don't. She said we don't have that. And she said even the way you cook. She said just your traditions when you cook and certain things. She said we don't have that. She says white people that live in America. She said American white people do not have culture. She said, but you do,
because they're not even American anyway.
Exactly. And so she said, but it made me think about that. But then I look at some of my people who look like me, and just how sometimes we're so ignorant that we don't uplift each other, right. Especially women. And it bothers my soul. Like I feel like if Charity's winning and we're on the same team, I'm winning. Because when it's my time to shine, if I'm supporting her, I know when it's my time and it's my season, she's gonna be right there for me.
Absolutely.
So if you said, look, I want to go to Timbuktu and hop on the top of the mountain, we're gonna talk about this. All right, let's go. She knows I'm that friend. Okay, let's do it. Yeah. Because I want to see women that look like me win. Like I want to see you win. I don't have to know you, but if you looking cute, girl, and we walking this, girl, you look cute. Exactly. I'm gonna tell you, you cute.
But that goes back to the colorism thing. It's like when you hear when a woman, like with Tammy and her job, like when someone succeeds, it's going to be the next person to cut her down. You only got that because you light skinned. You only got that because you cute. You know, and it's sad to be in those situations. Again, I'm someone who I let the women in my life have a front row. I didn't need the front row, but how that's damaged me because I didn't want to be looked at as the pretty girl. I didn't want to be looked at as, you know, the one center of attention. So I was the tomboy. I wore baggy clothes. I didn't wear makeup. I wore my hair in plaits and like tried to cover up who I really was so the next woman could feel confident. And it's like I had to get to the point where like that's not my responsibility.
No.
To make you feel confident in yourself. It's your responsibility. Yeah. So I did surround myself with women with lower self-esteem who were nasty to me, who talked down to me in front of people behind my back and because I wouldn't say anything because I'm like, well, you know, you need the attention more than me. I know who I am as a person. So it doesn't matter what you're saying about me or how you feel about me. I'm still confident in who I am. And it's like, you have to have love for yourself first.
That's where it starts.
Anytime I see somebody doing something good, I'm like, dang, I should be at that point. I'm like, well, it's something I'm not doing. It ain't got nothing to do with what she's doing. It's what I'm not doing to get there. And you can combat, you know, colorism or whatever. You think you're not getting somewhere because of the color of your skin. You can, it's ways around it. I don't ever put my face on a business card. I don't ever put my face at the forefront of a business. I let the business speak for itself. And I don't let it bother me. Like most of the stuff is because I'm not a man that I don't get certain things. But I don't let that stop me and deter me as long as I get my check. You can feel how you want to feel. You know, I'm going to support my friends. I mean, and I'm going to support you. If I'm not somebody that really needs your product at the time, I'm still going to, when somebody say they need you, I'm going to refer you. Mm-hmm. That's support too, because we can all say, well, yeah, no, I really don't need that. I said, but did you tell the next person that might have needed it? Mm-hmm. Did I come to mind? Right. You know, so I mean, as women of color, the issue is understanding that we are all women of color. It doesn't. I heard someone
color.
say, it's crazy. I don't want to say who said this, but I said, oh, I wish this girl would have went to HBCU college, and the black girl said she doesn't present black enough to go, but she has black in her bloodline. So she basically, like, she presents as a white girl, so she can't go to the HBCU. I was like, what?
Just like the white boy who graduated from Morehouse.
What?
Like,
why not? You know? And I was like, why not? Her daddy's half black. Her granddaddy is blackity black. So she has blood in her veins. Why she can't go to the HBCU? Because she don't present black. And I was like, no, we don't talk like that. We don't look at it like that.
But the only way we're gonna get beyond being in that, the only way we get beyond that connotation, that understanding, is through conversation. So that's why I applaud this conversation.
Absolutely.
I applaud us having the opportunity to share our own personal experiences. And when I think back to that girlfriend, my best friend growing up, she we lived in Michigan, which was a city, Detroit, city. But she had a grandmother who lived in Michigan in the country part, and it would be about an hour and a half drive to the grandma's house. And sometimes I would go with my best friend to her grandma's house, and grandma would always make her this hair salve in a jar, homemade, and Sean would whenever she would go out, she would go back to grandma to get some more. And it was because she would want to drench her scalp and try to make her hair grow, because it was just naturally kind of short. So one weekend I'm spending the night at Sean's house, and I see the hair salve in the jar, and then there's this other jar with this concoction that I could tell it must have been from grandma because it looks homemade. And I say, Sean, what's this? Is it something else for your hair? No, that's for my skin. I said, what, it's lotion? It looks kind of like petroleum, and it had a white. No, it's to lighten my skin. I said, you put this over your whole body to lighten your skin? And she said, yeah. So that made me feel like it's to the point where my best friend feels like she has to alter her complexion to feel like she's good enough. And that's a shame, because I always could look at her and she was, your complexion perhaps. And she was my sister. She was my everything, and I look at her like, you're so beautiful. And I was envious of her because I was the itty bitty titty committee queen and she was 13 with a brick house body. So I was in awe of her, and she was envious of me just because of the color of my skin. So this is a conversation we need to have. We need to understand how individually and collectively beautiful we all are. So and that's the only way we get
collectively.
Most conversation, it starts with our ancestors, our mothers, our grandmothers, our picking favorites, or putting that mindset that they're not good enough because they didn't come out this color, or they didn't, because that's again slave mentality. You're better if you're lighter, because the lighter ones got to stay in the house. They got to, they got the roof over their head. They got the better job. They didn't have to be out in the field all day long. So it was automatically you're better, and that's where that mindset start. And it just kept evolving over time, and it's put in their heads. And like we said in the beginning, it was not on us. It was on the white man who wanted to keep us apart, because he knew if we were united, we could take over.
We were powerful.
We would take over.
But they also set the standard of beauty for us. You Barbie dolls, blonde hair, blue eyes, little perky boobies.
Hollywood.
They made us think that this is what you have to look like.
And then we didn't even have black dolls.
And so then when we were little, going to get a black doll, as soon as the Toys R Us or Lionel's Play World opened up, mama had to be the first one in line, because there was only 2 or 3 black dolls, and so she wants to get those black dolls for her daughters.
My Cabbage Patch Kid was white.
Yeah, and exactly. Or and if you did make one, it didn't look like me, and I'm like, I'm not this dark, but I'm not this light. So how do we fix this?
Right.
Getting to fixing it. I was just about to speak on that. I think it's important for us to start within our own home and start watching the things that we watch on television and the things that we see on the internet, and make sure we're talking to our children first before they're experiencing in the world, so that therefore they have something to fall back on. They already have a conversation. Within this last year and a half, I've stopped looking at so much television, and it's done me so much justice. We don't realize just by watching something the information that we retain automatically, and that's what television is for.
Right.
They want to train our brain
and
to
it could
think
be poison.
a certain type of way. And I feel like if we pull back from that, like she said, do more research, do more reading, listen to a book or something of that sort. It just takes your mind off of the world, and it pulls you back into yourself, and you can get a better understanding of things. So I think that's somewhere we can start with talking to our children, giving them an understanding, and also making sure we're educating them and not letting the world educate them.
I think that's the problem. As some parents, we don't want to dive into those conversations. We don't want to touch on it because they're too young. I think when my daughter, when the George Floyd was murdered, and she came into my room and she cried, and I held my then just turned, she wasn't even an 11-year-old child, and she's like, "Mommy, I don't want you to die." And for people sometimes say I have too deep of a conversation with my child, or I touch on a lot of little things, because I don't want you to learn this from the streets. I want you to learn it from me. And we watched the movie on Disney, The Color of Friendship, and it was based back in the 70s during the middle of apartheid, and it was about a black girl, a white girl from South Africa. They came to America as a what's it called when the kids come for a semester, a student abroad? Yeah, student exchange, foreign exchange student. And so the little black girl whose father was a politician, and so they were not the little white girl's depiction of what black was supposed to be, as far as how they have arrived. They lived in a big house, they spoke eloquently, they had money, and the little black girl was looking for a little black girl to come off the plane because she's coming from Africa. And so she was like looking like, "Are you to help?" Like when they finally met, and she was like, "You white, you're from Africa." And so we watched the movie together, and I was explaining to her, you know, what happened during that time. And we had that conversation, and she was like, "Okay, I get it." It's like, you know, she doesn't fully understand it because she's been raised in this melting pot of different cultures. Her friends, they look like everything, but sometimes she just sits back and says, "Well, Mommy, I want my skin to look like yours." And I'm like, "Baby, I can't change that. You know, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to love you for who you are."
Absolutely. That's
and
where it starts.
Your black is just as beautiful as Mommy's. I said that's the beautiful thing about our culture, our skin color, is that there's not just one. It's just not one color.
The shades
we
are beautiful.
all look alike. But as a little girl, I remember.
I think Fenty hit on it.
Yeah, when her teacher said, "You're black," and held up a black
Fenty.
crayon, and she looked at her and she said, "We're not black." She's like, "I don't look like that, and you don't look like that." And so she went through the crayon box and found everybody the crayon that matches their skin color. And so she came home one day, and somebody
had that 100 count box. I know
she said, "You're black." She says, "No, I'm peach," or she'll say, "I'm caramel," or she's like, "In the summertime I'm caramel," but she said, "In the wintertime I'm peach." But she has been that way. And so sometimes I looked at her, and one of my students, he asked me the other day, "I don't have a crayon that looks like me." I said, "You know what? I'm going to get you a crayon. I'm going to get a box of crayons.
You'll find
with all the browns, the shades of hues of browns, because he's on the spectrum, and so you can't tell no child on the spectrum they black." We say, "You're African American." I said, "Well, what do you want to be today?" He said, "I want to be blue." "Okay, well then you blue. You blue today. Be blue, baby. Be the best